Welcome to the Film Angle. I'm Alex, and today I'm joined by writer-director Ross Syner. Ross is here today to talk about his gripping new short film Brothers, starring the BAFTA award-winning actor David Bradley. You might know him from shows like Game of Thrones, and he's coming up in the Guillermo del Toro Frankenstein film. Hot Fuzz, he's a legend. Brothers has been lighting up the festival circuit recently. It's had a selection at the Holly Shorts Film Festival, the Flickers Rhode Island International Film Festival, and it is officially qualified for the 2026 BAFTAs. The film itself is about a powerful moral dilemma where two grandsons bring their grandfather in on an impossible choice where he must decide whether to kind of protect his family at any cost or risk repeating the mistakes of the past. It's a really kind of beautifully emotional film that kind of forces the audience to confront the legacies we inherit and the choices that define us. So Ross is a Royal Television Society award-winning filmmaker, and he's had a lot of success with previous short films, and is having some great success with Brothers as well. And he joins me today to talk about the process of writing the film, working with people like David Bradley, and how he kind of crafts those stories and what he's going on to next. So without further ado, let's get into the interview. Welcome to the show, Ross. How are you?
I'm not too bad. Thank you for having me. How are you?
Yeah, I'm all good, thank you. I'm all good. Before we jump into your new short film, Brothers, I'd love to get to know you a little bit more and just kind of be interested to hear your background and kind of what inspired you to get into filmmaking.
So I was in bands growing up, all sorts of different rock bands, and some may be very embarrassing to look back on now with the spandex and the long hair, whatever. And then I got into music tech, started recording bands. And then I had a band come in, a duo, who one of the guys is now my business partner. He said, "Do you do music videos?" I went, "Yeah." So I never really picked up a camera apart from, making silly home movies with my pals back in the day and things like that. Always been into film. One of the reasons I started a recording studio was to try and do, scores for film and that, but kind of wasn't working out as well as I hoped. So I said yes, did a music video. It actually went surprisingly well, and it kind of just snowballed from there, basically. And then it took over the recording side of things. Don't record music now, unfortunately. And then next thing you know, I'm getting more and more clients on the music side of things. I've worked with Universal, BMG, all those folks now. And yeah, kind of after that, I built up a rapport doing narrative music videos. So there's always a performance element. And then I found out quite early on that I love this kind of making a storyline along with the music video. So I kind of started getting a regular client base to get those kind of music videos. So naturally then it just went into, I'll do a short film. And then we came up with a script. We did a World War II thing called Francois. And then that got us an accreditation to Cannes and things like that. So it kind of just, straight away, absolutely loved it. Just absolutely loved it.
Was there a moment when you were kind of making the music videos where something clicked and you were like, oh yeah, this is actually where I want kind of my career to?
Yeah. There was a moment when I made a particular music video, and it was my first okay budget for a music video, and I got, in fact, James Eels is in it, who's in Brothers, and I just got to make this outrageous music video with my pals and get paid for it, and just had all this creative freedom, which I absolutely love. Because normally if you're sat in a recording studio with a band, it's their music, there's only so much you can do. But I kind of got here's your budget, just go for it. Developed the concept and pulled it off, and just had all this creative freedom, and I was just like, this is fantastic. Obviously, not every job's like that, but it was at that point where I was like, and the end result was pretty good. I was really happy, and I was just like, I want to do this. I really want to do this. And then the next moment would be that World War II thing. Next thing you know, we've hired out a Didcot railway station, and I've got 20 extras all there with blank fire and machine guns. I'm like, this is cool. I mean, it was stressful that one, but it was cool. So yeah, I've had a few moments where I've been like, yeah, no, this is what I want to do.
Gotcha. Was it quite a difficult transition going from when you're filming things with a very kind of heavy music element to then, and I appreciate Brothers has a very strong music element as well, but maybe with your previous short films, kind of going into narrative, was was that different, or was it the same? I
I
guess.
mean, I tell you, I think I was kind of lucky in a way because there was always, like I say, I always had that narrative element. And I think it helped because right, I've got a music video and I've got 3 minutes to tell a story along with this. But you've got a pace to stick to then, where I suppose that's the one bit of difference is you've got no one holding the rhythm or the dynamics of the film for you. You've now got to create this rhythm. I understand not everybody may approach their films with, rhythm or whatever, but it's a similar aspect. You've got to pace things well, and do you need to get to the point quicker? Do you need to slow that down, or the dynamics of it? So I think there's similarities there, but I'd say that was the main kind of like stumbling block. No, I wouldn't say
Hmm.
stumbling block, but that was the hardest bit of trying to
Yeah.
pace films properly. Yeah,
I must say this is very much on a smaller scale, but I went to film university in Falmouth, and the best short film I made was outside of the curriculum, and was actually just because I hung around a lot with a lot of the guys doing music there. My best mate was doing a music course, and I loved going to all their kind of like sessions and stuff like that. And I ended up making a music video for his band. And again, I tried to go very narrative driven, and I think that was my favorite kind of creative piece. Like that, it was kind of like the opposite thing. That was the most fun. Maybe I should have kept doing that. Maybe that's what I should have done. So you are at this point. Are you kind of a director for hire with music videos, or did you start your own production company to kind of keep getting those jobs in? I guess.
I'm a bit of both. So obviously, I started Mockingbird Film Co with Ben. He's my business. I'd already started a production company of some sort, and then Ben came along in his band and was like, we do a music video. So we've kind of developed that from there to get these projects in, music videos, films, TV, and have a house for it. House it all under one place. We can go to other directors if needs be. If we've got multiple projects on at the same time, just a hub to if anyone needs a project, we can from cradle to grave. We can kind of take you on board, help you develop it, and film it, get it out there, deliver it, the lot. But then me, like on a personal level, if I get approached to direct a short film, which Ed Hull said he's the executive producer on Brothers. That's how I originally met him. Lou, our DP, got approached to DP this short film, and then Lou put me forward. So I will go off and do my own thing. So it's a bit of both in a nutshell.
I guess with the short films, and especially with Brothers, I'd love to kind of get into maybe the writing process and how that came to you. Was writing something that you enjoyed prior to making films, or was that something where you were like, now I want to tell my own stories. I need to kind of figure
Yeah.
this part of the process out as well.
Again, there was always a little bit of having to write scripts for the music videos, but obviously there was never any dialogue or very little if there was a cut scene or something. But I've always liked writing. 90% of my stuff kind of just didn't get past note stages or whatever. But then, if something clicks, because I can't sit still for very long. So if something clicks and I can just sit and write it, I know, I feel like I might be onto something, but this one approached it differently because I actually wrote it with my partner, Leanne,
Mm.
my now wife. In lockdown, we were kind of just sitting around and coming up with ideas, and she stumbled on this story. I can't remember the ins and outs, but it's about two twins, and it's a true story, and how they kind of kept taking the rap for each other as because they could get away with it, you know. And then it came to that question. Then it was, oh, what would you do for your sister
Mm.
or your brother if this kind of happened? So we started writing brothers off the back of that. Normally it's just me sat tapping away at a laptop, but she's extremely creative. She's heavily dyslexic, bless her. So I was kind of like her human dictaphone, should we say, on this one. But I really enjoyed the process. I know most of the country didn't enjoy lockdown, but for that brief moment of writing a script where
Yeah.
we were just locked into this and we just had something to focus on. Next thing you know, the whole day's gone. It was great. This process was really good. Since then, I've enjoyed writing a hell of a lot more. You know.
Nice. So it was a very collaborative process then. Were you kind of sitting down together, or were you sending each other drafts of like, oh, I've added this today, and do you want to have a look over or anything like that?
Yes, I mean 99% of it we were just in our conservatory was just done out in a nice way. We just locked ourselves away in there because we couldn't
Nice.
leave. So yeah, it'd be a case of I'd be on the laptop, she'd be pacing around, and we'd just shoot ideas off each other. If I dare wrote a paragraph, and I'd have to go and let her know, and vice versa. She'd come down and she's voice noted something into her phone. But apart from those little off stretches, we were just sat together the whole
Yeah.
time.
Gotcha. Gotcha. And are you still collaborating today? You still writing scripts together, or?
We are actually. It's
Nice.
I've got a few things on the go, some with her, some without her. But even I find even the ones that I've started writing without her, I always kind of run everything through her anyway. So you could
Yeah.
kind of say she's at least an editor. But no, we've got a few things on the boil now, so it's pretty exciting. Yeah.
Brilliant, brilliant. This might be a good point, maybe, to kind of let our audience know what Brothers is about. I don't know if you want to say in your own words what the film is about, and then we can really kind of get into it a little bit.
Yeah. So it's a kind of a story about testing people's morals, their morality, and how they kind of would make decisions for their loved ones. We wanted to make a film that at the end of it, where people would ask the questions, to their family. So it basically is a film where this particular character is faced with a bit of a life-altering dilemma, and he has to make some choices. Are they wrong? Are they right? That's kind of up for the audience to view. So yeah, it's a film on morality. There's a bit of bit in there where David Bradley's character, he has to deal with grief and guilt from his past. So there's a quite a bunch of little angles thrown in there, but overall it's to test people's morals, really.
Mm. And you said the story was inspired by a story of two twins, right, who were taking the rap for each other. Was
Yeah.
there anything else that kind of punctuated this idea that kind of made the story kind of blossom in your mind?
Well, I say it was loosely inspired. It was
Loosely.
the subject of that. Obviously, in no way, shape, or form is it kind of a true story at all. It was
Yeah,
that
don't worry.
subject matter. But then it would be a case of just people. The conversation just started fluttering around then. Oh, what would you do? What would you do? What would you do if your cousin did this, or someone knocked on your door and they asked you to do this? So it was kind of just built off the back of all these questions and asking
Mm.
yourself the things. So no real life scenarios, I'm afraid. Nothing
No,
interesting,
no.
juicy to spill the beans on. But
Just an
no,
interesting question in a way.
yeah, yeah, that's it, really.
If you don't mind me going back to the kind of writing process a little bit, obviously the film is about two brothers and their grandfather, and obviously you wrote the script with your now wife Leanne. Was there anything that she kind of brought to it, like almost from a female's gaze, that kind of maybe like shifted the story in a way that you didn't expect?
Yeah. Well, Leah, not, I wouldn't say necessarily female's perspective. I don't know if she'll thank me for saying something like this, but she is, her moral, she would, it's a compliment. Her morals are very high. So she brought a level of kind of interest to it and motivations, thought to it that other people would have been like, oh, okay, really? So, some people would be like, maybe they wouldn't do something in a certain instance, but well, but if you think about it this way, so I don't think it was necessarily the fact she was female that brought anything to it in that
Mm,
respect. It was more she's got a fantastic kind of like moral compass and view on
mm.
life. So that kind of really brought some emotional depth to it. That's for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's almost like a combination of like
Yeah.
your experiences. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
I must say, the morality in Brothers is really complex, and I really liked that about it. I think you're not very judgmental and I mean that as a compliment. But you kind of lay the groundwork for understanding these characters and making them, not fully the sum of their mistakes. But I'm interested to know as well. Was there ever maybe like a different outcome, or did you ever approach writing the script from a different angle while you were writing it, or was this always the kind of way structurally that you wanted it to play out?
Yeah. So I mean, we kind of ummed and ahed for a little minute on how things would end. Um, but I think there could have only been one outcome for the story to have
Hmm.
that point to it. Um, Obviously, I mean, we're going to be giving spoilers out here, aren't we? Essentially,
Yeah, we will let people know when the film comes out publicly, and hopefully if anybody is watching it at festivals, hopefully they'll
yeah,
find the podcast as well.
yeah, fantastic. Okay, well, it's a case of obviously, uh, there's the two brothers. One takes the rap for the younger one. It was a case of how far does it go? What does David Bradley's character, his grand, then go and call the police and
Mm,
actually make him do the right thing? But I think no. I think let's just go that one step further. It can only be that extra little twist at the end. Um,
mm.
so I mean, loosely for half a day, we may have ummed and ahed on other options, but I think it was always going to be that. David Bradley's character was actually the dad at one point,
Mm.
but then we wanted to add another layer of complexity in there. Um, so David's essentially, let's keep David, Nigel, his kind of doing this for, he's got a second chance. So he alludes to a mom and dad that's not on the scene, and they're, for his words, a family of. Are we allowed to swear on the
You
podcast?
can swear, you're all good, yeah.
Yeah, so he obviously refers to themselves as a family of fuck ups and thanks to the mother and father. But obviously, we don't go too far into that. But that obviously alludes to him not being the kind of best father to his children. So now he's kind of got that second chance. So him and the nan
Mm,
had promised to look after them. So I think the fact that he ended up taking the rap is for him doing the right thing, giving these boys another go at life. Obviously, because in this instance they've kind of failed. So yeah, I think he's given them one more shot.
yeah. And I think we talk about spoilers, but I do think this film kind of plays better again on rewatch. I've watched it about 3 or 4 times to kind of prepare for today's interview, and I must say, like, all the little moments and kind of story bites that you kind of put in there kind of all lead to getting a better understanding of the whole family and that dynamic, and I think that's really interesting. I would love to know a little bit more about kind of, you've got the script, you have your own production company behind you, but how'd you go out casting into the world, and how'd you end up with David Bradley coming on board?
Well, that one, when we were writing it, I said all I can see is David Bradley. When I'm obviously visualize it when you're reading it back to
Mm,
yourself, and I was even I'm not going to do an impression, but I was reading it out loud in my best David Bradley kind of impressions now and then, and I was like, it has to be David.
Mm.
I already had Jack Christo and James on board because I've worked with both of them before, and I sent them the script, and they both loved it immediately. And I said, "Look, I'm going for David Bradley. I'll let you know." And they were like, "Okay, fantastic." And they're really kind towards the script. They loved it and really threw themselves at it. And then I got in touch with David Bradley's agent, and they were extremely welcoming. Sent him the script. They were like, but they did say, "I will warn you, he's he was in Canada at the time for 6 months. Later, find out that it's Frankenstein, the one that's
Well,
just."
yes, of course, he's coming up in that, isn't he? Yeah.
But so he won't be reading. I was just like, I'm waiting. I'm waiting. I'm waiting. I've got through the door. I'm waiting. And then he finally read it, and it was instant. It was absolutely loves the script, loves the writing, and just wants to get on board. So within two or three more emails between us, settling on things. Not that there was anything to settle on. He was easy flying. He was in. I was just. It was yeah, just I was like, oh crap, okay, now what? We've got David Bradley, best go and make a film. Yeah, I just rang round all my usual crew that I wouldn't do anything without: Lou Murrell, the DP, Ed Holstead, Ben Waldron, James Broom, Jess Makeup, Sean, everybody. Oh, if I'm missing anybody, I'm always terrible, but they were all into it. In fact, it was Lou, the DP. I sent him the script quite early on. I
Mm.
sent two actually, and he didn't have many kind words about the second one. He was like, "It's brothers or nothing."
Oh, wow. Okay.
He even went as far as to say, "I will throw in my time for free. I'll help you produce it as long as you do brothers. Like you've got to do it." So as soon as David Bradley said yes, I was straight back to him. I was like, "You were right. You were right."
Yeah.
It's like I told you. So he was great. And then Ben Key, my business partner, obviously. He's always instrumental in putting everything together, and then had a few extra people love the script and help make it happen. A chap called Andy Goff is a local guy, and then Ed Holstead, I keep mentioning, he was instrumental in helping us get funding together and stuff like that. Everybody was, when something just clicks,
Mm.
everybody was like threw themselves at it. They were willing to do things on the cheap, or it was just, I couldn't believe it just came together instantly.
Yeah.
um
I guess that's a testament to everybody kind of being taken by, the emotion of the story and where it goes.
yeah, I think that was right. I think everybody who's on the cruise, they're not just in their roles, they're all creative people in their own right. So I think they saw that, they read through it, and I think obviously as well, when David attaches himself, and Jack and Jam have got fantastic credits in their own rights as well. So when it all came together, we had such a great cast and crew all willing just to throw themselves at it. It was,
Mm.
yeah, I feel quite honoured to have these people around me.
Brilliant, brilliant. I mean, I'm interested as well because Brothers is kind of a very performance driven film. Like it kind of potentially lives or dies by those performances. And I appreciate you've worked with two of the actors prior, but then you've obviously got the added pressure of working with somebody like David Bradley, who has he's a legend. So like how do you balance kind of giving the actors freedom when you're directing people who know what they're doing, but also kind of serve the story and the vision that you had in your mind?
Yeah, sure. So obviously, I was quite, say, nervous when on the first morning. Obviously, a little bit of anxiety, David coming in, and he's worked on some of the, he's worked on some monster projects and with some huge name directors. And I was like, okay, I've got to try and, direct this man. And I always go down like a rabbit hole of actors talking about worst bits of direction they've received and how not, but none of them are consistent. So I
Mm,
have to get out my own head and just be me. And then, but as soon as they all turned up, and then within 5 minutes, everyone's got a coffee and they're laughing like they've been hanging out, it kind of just goes out the window. And um, have a 10-minute rehearsal. Everybody's brought their own kind of spin on it, but everybody gelled. So I think I was very lucky that everybody kind of dug into their own character a little bit, and it
mm,
all kind of within the realms of what I was after. Um, so the only kind of there was just certain emotional ramps that we kind of discussed but everybody kind of like David. I keep going back to David. I've never seen somebody close a door so emotionally. It's unreal. Like you don't, yeah. So I was blessed really with these three. Once we'd just start the scene and done the blocking, and they they'd got the rhythm between them. Again, apart from adjusting some emotional ramps and pacing things, they were off. So
mm.
it was great.
On top of the performances, I guess another big element of the film is kind of like the place and the space. You're in a very confined house, and then obviously later in the film, you have a flashback scene confined within a car. What was your kind of intention between keeping the film in essentially really close quarters?
So I had a few meetings with Lou, the DP, in it ahead of time. Films are very like kind of what would you say? I wouldn't say epic's the word, but lots of movement, lots of move. I even like doing one-ers now and then and things like that. It's all movement. Uh, this time around, we were like, no, we want to put the actors in the space and let them tell this story. We want to confine it. It's like it's an issue that this family are dealing with within the confined space of their home, essentially. It's all a bit of a secret. So that was kind of led to the creative decision of filming it in 4:3 and keeping cameras
Mm,
static and only doing the slightest movements if we felt like we need to. There was always a creative choice to it. So, for example, the shot when we're doing a two shot on the boys, they're either side of David. David's in the middle. They're both kind of against him. They're holding a secret, and David's isolated. And then on a reverse, David's completely on his own, framed in between the two boys. There's always kind of decisions like that. And when he's gone and called the police and he comes back in, we make him go to the other side of the kitchen to make another cup of tea because we want him to kind of isolate himself a bit further from the boys. This
mm,
himself, he's just done this. It's not a terrible thing, but obviously, well, yeah, he's getting away from the drama of it all, essentially. So there was always kind of a creative process to do that, and I was a bit nervous about it because, like I say, usually let's shoot as wide as possible. Let's keep the camera moving. Let's. So I was a little bit, I wouldn't say out my depth, but I was trusting the process a bit on this one. I wanted to try something different.
yeah.
Um, and I think, I'm glad me and Lou did some blocking and some pre-production kind of meetings to suss it out. We just wanted simple lighting, wanted as natural as possible. And then in the car, the boys, they're confined to just a single two shot. There's no fancy exteriors. It's straight
Mm,
back into the drama. It's the tension between the two. So we don't need to see what the car looks like. We don't need to see what street they're on. It's a flashback of the drama, and that's all I wanted to see. So I think it's paid off.
I would say it pays off. I think as well, you almost as a viewer feel like you're a fly on the wall, and you're almost like watching something you shouldn't. Like you don't almost like want to make a noise while the conversation is happening. You've obviously discussed quite a lot about your collaboration with Lou there, your cinematographer. But how much pre-production did you have on it, and were you guys storyboarding this before, or was there anything when you came to set, like any challenges that shook that off, or anything where you're like, oh, let's try?
I think he popped. So a little bit of trivia is the location is my house. So we just brought a doer upper, me and Leanne. And when I say it was a doer upper, it's I mean, this is my front room, and this is the only room in the house that's done. Um, and I was like, Leanne, we need to film it in this kitchen. This kitchen's perfect. So I didn't let her renovate the place whatsoever. So I got Lou over to the house a couple of times, and again he just got did some tests and some angles. 90% of it was in the kitchen, and so the kitchen kind of stuff went quite smoothly on the day. We did one or two little tests in the hallway, but then when we came to blocking, we came up with a few challenges of it doesn't feel natural or this angle doesn't work, and um, so I think those 2 days of work, hanging around with Lou, really paid off to keep because we only had 2 days to do it,
Mm.
um, but that was it. I don't storyboard. The only reason being is because it's use. It's no use to anyone. Honest, even stick, I just can't get it across in a scribble. So I'll do like a bit of a shot list. Like this is what I need to achieve, A to B, and then I'll put a thing at the bottom. If time, get these bonus shot. So that's kind of how we work. And then I've worked with Lou now for so long. I've worked since my very first short film. Lou has been my go-to guy. So I think we've kind of hit that click now where it's even if I'm talking absolute gobbledygook to him, he gets it, and vice versa. Um, and he'll come back at me. Well, you're saying this, and I understand it, but what about this? Obviously, and he's great at that. So, in answer, the prep was quite small, really.
Mm.
Yeah, we didn't really have much time. It was a fast turnaround from David saying yes to shooting it. We spent most of the time buying all the props and all of that.
I was going to ask about the props because it does feel very lived in. But then when you said it was your house, I didn't know how. I was like, maybe.
I'm a little bit cleaner than Nigel. Um,
It feels like potentially if I wanted to pause this film and kind of like zoom in on anything, there's probably like a story or a memory you're trying to convey through some of the things that are in the background or on the side.
yeah, so no, there was little Easter eggs in there. So we brought some uh, these glasses, and we snapped them and sellotaped them back together just to try and put a little bit there, just a little thing of like, no,
Mm.
his old vision's broken. Everything's broken around him, and he's got a tape of stories from the war, just to kind of show what kind of person he is, and cigarettes everywhere, tea bags galore, and it was just we just wanted to make it messy and lived in, and the fact that um, his wife's departed and everything around him was microwave meals and things like that, and unkept, shall we say. So, and I suppose the only other Easter egg would be, I don't know if you've picked up on it, was the red hat.
Mm.
That red hat was, we wanted that to symbolize kind of like the guilt and the blame. So obviously it gets passed around, doesn't it?
Yes.
It's not just a loud hat that would get noticed. That was to symbolize them passing the blame on. But no, we spent many days going around charity shops and buying microwaves and things like that, trying to make it look lived in and give it kind of like that an era of what that man might be.
Yeah. Gotcha. Another big element of the film that kind of moves it along and obviously is kind of a big emotional driving factor is the original score that you've got by Anthony Ford. At what point did you bring him into the process, and did you have, with a background in music, did you have in mind the kind of piano motif or the kind of music that you wanted playing throughout the film?
So I got him on. Was speaking to him fairly early about it, but I just worked with him on a proof of concept short film, the Viking thing, and what he did just straight away. There's a piece of music in there that I'll actually just listen to. I really love what he. So he was the only person to approach because, like you say, I'm a background in music, and sometimes I could be a bit, oh, I like this, I like, but he's a man that I wholeheartedly trust, and I knew I wanted something simplistic, and it needed to be kind of emotive and motivational and ramp with the story essentially. And he came up with a few pieces and sent them, and I think even the first one was like, I love it. And then he was like, no, 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 that's not right. That's not right. He's very, that's what I love about him. He'll go back and he's like, yo, let me try one more. And I'm like, okay. Um, but yeah, I got him on quite early. But I think I absolutely adore what he came up with. And he was just nominated for Best Original Score. And I was just with him the other night. And he just wanted more time because obviously we filmed it, we wrapped it, and then I wanted to get it out to festivals quick.
Mm.
Um, and like Holly Short's deadline was coming up in a matter of weeks and everything like that. And I was like, Anthony, I just to let you know, if I'm getting to this is the deadline. And he was like, what? But he did it, and then I submitted it as a work in progress. I hadn't finished the color grade, anything like that. And then we got selected for Holly Shorts. I was like, oh shit, Anthony, I need you to. But he was so kind of like buzzing by that. He just went straight in, and then the next pass that he sent me was what you hear on the film. And yeah, he's just got a great ear, obviously, for it, and I leave him to it 90% of the time.
Brilliant. I'm interested as well in the editing process. Obviously, the story is structured in a way that we, the viewer, don't kind of get the full context until maybe like halfway through the film. Did you ever play around with that at all to see if it kind of worked, bringing us more in at the start and then leaving us with the twist of the grandfather at the end?
Yeah, I actually have an edit where it starts with David dragging on the cigarette, saying, "Come on, then, what's happened?" And then it cuts back, and but obviously I have a trusted little circle around me, and everybody kind of preferred the version that is now, and I do in the end. But I tell you what, that intro edit, um, the intro bit, I think I did about 10 different versions of that
Mm.
production. Um, Starting on wide, starting on punch-ins, missing out dialogue here. I think I have twisted a line or two around compared to what the original script was. Um, but when just some it just doesn't sit right, and you just keep messing, you keep messing, you keep messing, and then all of a sudden you're like, oh, I think that was the first edit I did anyway. Uh, but yeah, I did try a few things, but I thought, really, apart from the jump back, I thought keep it linear, get to the point with under 10 minutes. Do you know what I mean? Because there's those twists. I think sticking to kind of like a linear timeline, you can get away with it because you have got flashbacks essentially, which kind of throw you out of it. But yeah, in a nutshell, there was about 20 different edits, I'd say.
Brilliant, brilliant. Once you were happy with that final project, then obviously you've been getting it out to festivals. You mentioned Holly Shorts there. Did you head out to LA the other month for that one?
No, I couldn't. I couldn't for various reasons, unfortunately. I really wish I could have. But I couldn't believe it because I've entered a few projects into the likes of Holly Shorts and Flickers Rhode Island and Aesthetica and stuff. So to get these selections this time round, um, it's been phenomenal. I wish I could have gone to them all. I'm going to Aesthetica in November. I've been invited to talk on a panel there as well, which is exciting. Um, but no, I couldn't make it out there, annoyingly.
No worries, no worries. Have you seen it with any festival audience yet, or is that still to come?
So there was a local festival, Worcester. Annoyingly, had Savage Man Flu the other week when that was playing. So, but it's in a Birmingham film festival. So I'll go sit there. I've had a few messages. I had a message off a couple of people from who watched it at Holly Shorts, saying what a fantastic film, and a lovely message from an actor who saw it at Worcester. So I've had kind messages from people I don't know reaching out and things like that, which has been lovely. But I'll obviously go and catch it as Aesthetica, which will be fantastic, and then Birmingham as well. for sure.
Brilliant. I'd love to know if there's like any kind of reactions to the film that maybe like surprise you or anything like that. Maybe there already has been, so let me know. Obviously, if there has, but obviously, lovely to get such great feedback. When you go to Aesthetica, when you're going to festivals in the future, what is it that you want audiences to kind of take away from Brothers?
I I would love a couple of reactions like David's when he read the script, and James and Jack. They all said I didn't see that ending coming. I think visually it's less of a shock. You kind of obviously because you see him with the coat on, and that kind of gives it away. But still, quite at the end, I've had people saying they didn't see that coming. I cried at the end when that was it. So I'd like people to go, oh, I didn't see that ending come in. Obviously, I'd love it to strike an emotional chord. Well, I imagine if that was, your grandfather doing that for you and things like that. And then ultimately, again, people asking themselves that question. If people could go away almost questioning their own morals and how they would approach something like that, I think that is the thing. Obviously, there's loads of films out there, rightly so, about social impact topics and things like this. This is a bit more on the nose, looking in your own house kind of thing. So I suppose those are kind of what I'd be hoping for, really.
Lovely, lovely. And what next for you? Are you working on more short films with Mockingbird, or are you hoping to kind of maybe fund a feature in the future?
So I don't know what. I don't want to say too much because obviously I've found out the hard way many times. Don't say too much until you know money's in the bank's probably the wrong phrase, but until
So you're
contract.
on set.
Yeah, until you're on set, that's it. But we touch wood. We've got something exciting going on at feature length, and I should find out in the coming weeks of the process on that. And then me and Leanne have got a couple of scripts, so I'm kind of toying around with which one to go with next. There's two very, very different scripts, and then I know business partner Ben. He's got a couple of projects that he's boiling over. Then Ed, who I work with. So there's a few things flying around, a lot of things flying around. Exciting one being that feature, hopefully. But yeah, I think it's we're going to lay it all out on the table and see which one we all want to do, really.
Brilliant. Have you ever considered how Brothers could like stretch into a feature film, or whether like maybe this was the opening scene and you go from there? Have you thought that way about it?
Yeah, I don't know how really I could stretch it out and it have as much worth, if you know what I mean. It's kind of obviously there's a way you can string those things out, but I think the fact that it's so fast paced, you're in and out under 10 minutes with that, complexity to it, which I tell me if I'm wrong. I feel like the complexity to it's explained it's simplified. You understand what's going on the whole way.
You don't want to lose the question, really. You don't want
Yeah.
people to forget that is what you want them to leave thinking about.
Yeah, I've done many short films that are proof of concepts and aim to kind of turn into features, which this feature we're talking about has kind of stemmed from. So it does work, but I think this one was an out and out short film, and it was so I don't have any intention for that. I've been asked the question, oh, well, what would happen as soon as the brothers notice that he's gone and the police have taken him and stuff? Oh, well, maybe there might be a brothers too, but that's about it.
It's really difficult, isn't it? I always that question's always there of like what happens next, but you also you don't want to force that out of somebody who's kind of trying to make you think about their work and leave it to interpretation, isn't it? So
Yeah, no, it's yeah, we'll definitely leave this one as a short, but yeah, like I say, we've got some in the pipeline through Mockingbird, and so we'll see what's next.
nice. Because of your music background, I'm interested maybe to kind of know what you consider to be some of the great movie scores, maybe, or what are your
Or
favorite kind of musically driven films?
my favourite score is Gladiator, Honour Him, Hans Zimmer. Um, I, I obviously love anything Lord of the Rings.
Mm.
Bridge of Spies, what's that? There's a song in Bridge of Spies now. One of my best mates, Dan, um, he obsesses over film scores, so he's always, oh, listen to this, listen to that, listen to this. So yeah, I do. Bridge of Spies is a great one. Gladiator, obviously. Lord of the Rings is caked in it. What else? What else? I'll throw that one back to you. Have you got anything that?
Oh, fair play. I've not been. It's not. It's never been thrown back to me. The one that comes to mind only because it was kind of like my favorite film last year, and the score just really stood out as doing something very different. Was Challenges, the Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross score, like really kind of pulsating techno sound, which I wasn't expecting when I watched the film, and it kind of really like pierces certain moments. It's almost like quite intrusive in a way. I don't know if you've seen it, but
No,
yeah,
I haven't. I won't claim to have. I won't. No, I have not. I will.
yeah. No, I highly recommend it. The score, yeah, it's really interesting the way it's utilized. At times, it's almost like it's too loud, but it's playing in a way that's like really interesting, and how it kind of comes in and out of that film. So yeah.
Yes. No, no. There you go.
One of the questions we always ask filmmakers on the podcast is this one. It's because we're doing this series at the moment where we're going through the blind spots on the Sight and Sound greatest films of all time list, and by watching those, you start to kind of understand where kind of contemporary filmmakers are getting their kind of their points from and their inspiration, and how these kind of classical films have influenced modern day films. So maybe not. Though there is crossover, maybe not your favorite films, but what are the films that have inspired you or shaped the kind of films that you want to make?
Oh, okay. I love the likes of, this might be cliche for filmmakers to say, but obviously Saving Private Ryan and things I love old films that make it, even before you've delved into the story, as soon as it starts, something you just feel something from it. Um, yeah, like Forrest Gump. But then even now, I love like the true story, rags to riches films, like Wolf of Wall Street and various films like that. But I I love an older an older film, that's for sure. So yeah, I think I probably would say Saving Private Ryan is one of my favourite films of all time. I just think the immersiveness of it, the emotion of it, everything, the way it's filmed. Part of it feels like a documentary, part of it's really intimate. I think, obviously, Steven Spielberg, so, I think that's phenomenal. Um, I don't know, but then again, all I can think of is Spielberg at the minute, but Terminal randomly, the Terminal,
Yeah.
great film. I just anything that can indulge me into a narrative where obviously you always know you're watching a film, but an hour and a half, 2 hours in some instances on these
Mm.
classics, bordering on 3 hours, you're like you just come out of it. You're like, oh God, that was great. But then I love a comedy too. Step Brothers is a fantastic film. Um, Fight Club. I'll go on and on. It sounds a bit cliche, doesn't it? Reeling all these kind of films off, but no,
No, not at all.
I think I'm inspired by those big films that when I was younger, kind of you put on your screen and they kind of hit you hard. And then obviously the likes of I mentioned Lord of the Rings earlier, how Jackson can weave all of that together just made me was like, I want to give that a go. Do you know what I
Yeah.
mean? So
You have mentioned like quite a lot of epics. I find that really interesting because obviously Brothers is like such
subdued.
yeah, subdued small film, but the emotion is quite heavy and high, isn't it? So do you
I'm
have an epic in you? Do you reckon? Do you reckon you've got one in you?
So I've just filmed a proof of concept called West Flies the Raven, a Viking inspired film, which Ed, the executive producer on Brothers, wrote. Um, so he's talking to various producers about that. I would love to make like I love Last Kingdom and stuff like that. I would love to make a Viking-inspired epic, um, but also a World War II epic. Like I say, my first ever short was Francois. It took us to Cannes. Um, oh, we've got a feature version of that. Annoyingly, I had a handshake with a production company on getting that made, but then COVID happened and everything fell away. So yeah, there's
Oh, man.
if yes in a nutshell. I'm rambling
Yeah.
on. This time around, I wanted to make something like Brothers. I wanted to just something because we didn't have an abundance of budget. I filmed it in my house. We charity shopped all the product. Me and Leanne did all the props ourselves, and I wanted to let the talent of the actors do the work. I don't know if you were with BAFTA qualified now.
Yes, of course.
Thanks to Holly Shorts and Flickers and Aesthetica, we're about to go down that BAFTA route, so we'll see. But I wanted to come away. I obviously more lean towards trying to make epics.
Yeah.
I wanted to take a notch back and be like, you know what, let's focus on the story rather than the camera movements. And because I am quite guilty of that as a director now and then, because I used to self-shoot stuff. So obviously coming up with all these elaborate shots. But so this time I was like, no, let's really test me working with actors on this and just let the actors run with this one. And so I think it's paid off.
Yeah. And I'm sure you can take those lessons of like how to capture the quieter, more subdued moments into kind of future films as well.
Yeah, I think that's the plan. I think I feel like now, obviously, I'll probably never feel ready. I'm always one of those guys the night before a shoot, even if it's the smallest music video or Brothers or whatever, or I'm just like this thinking and oh God, what am I doing? Imposter syndrome, Jack, James, and David walk through the door, and I'm like, "What am I doing?" And he just quotes something that Edgar Wright said to him. I was like, "Oh,
oh no, I'm out of my league."
I'm like, "Oh God!" And now he's listening to me. So yeah, no, I feel like now obviously I've had a chance to do a feature in the past, and it's always fallen through. And I think there's been a silver lining to that. I feel like now I could have made that World War II feature before lockdown, and it could have been the worst thing, and I'd never have done another film again. Whereas now I feel like cutting my teeth more and more, so I feel like I'll give it a go now. Do you know what I mean? I'll attack it. So yeah, hopefully you're right. Hopefully it's I can take that
Definitely
from one to the other.
I'm sure of it. Well, I highly recommend anybody going to Aesthetica or any kind of future festivals where Brothers is showing to check it out. Ross, thank you so much for your time and joining us today and going through your processes.
Thank you, but I've enjoyed it. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you again, Ross, for your time there. I really enjoyed interviewing Ross, and I really enjoyed getting to watch his short film Brothers. I mentioned at the end there he chatted about a lot of epics, but it almost feels like Brothers is an epic in kind of emotion and kind of complexity, but is really kind of small scale, but just kind of really beautifully lingers in your mind afterwards. And I think he has achieved what he set out to do with that kind of moral conundrum there, and really kind of forcing us as an audience to really think about the questions that he raises during the story of the film. So I wish him all the best going forward, and hopefully Brothers will have a lot of luck, and we'll see a feature film from him in the not too distant future. But that has been the episode for this week. So if you've enjoyed it, make sure to leave us a 5-star rating or review. We do really appreciate it. And if you'd like to keep up to date with us, make sure to follow us on Instagram and TikTok at The Film Angle. We also have a Film Angle playlist, so if you want to listen to what we listen to, you can also find that in the show notes. Be sure to catch us next week for more cinematic discussions. Goodbye.